Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make this simple bubu dress with pockets in front. This dress has a collar on the neckline and drawstring on the sleeve area, as you can see. And this is what the back of the dress looks like. If this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch to the end. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. So to make this bubble dress, you're going to need up to 2.5 to 3 yards of African print fabric, depending on the size of the person you're working with. You're also going to need up to half yards of organza fabric to make that ruffles on the pocket. So I have my other materials here. Let's go ahead now to work on the fabric. So for my dress, I only have 2 yards of African print fabric. So I'm going to manage it to make my dress. I'll have to add some extension to the sleeve. So first thing I did was to fold my fabric into 2 equal parts this way. And then I'll further fold it now into 4, as you can see. So after folding into 4, this is what we have. So if you're working with 2.5 yards, go ahead to fold the 2.5 yards of fabric into 4 this way. So after folding, what I have as the width of the fabric is 14 inches, which is going to be okay for the bodies of my bubu. Since my hip measurement divided by 4 is 11 inches, the remaining 3 inches can just serve as ease and seam allowance. But the issue I'll be having now is that since this dress is a cut together sleeve, my shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 8 inches. And I want my sleeve length to be about 12 inches, and I have just 6 inches here. So I'll be joining fabric to the sleeve to make up for my 12 inches sleeve length. So if you're working with enough fabric, you don't have to do this. I hope you guys understand. I'm just trying to manage my fabric for the purpose of this tutorial. So I'll extend the sleeve by extra 6 inches so I can get my desired sleeve length. So I'll come over to the upper part of my fabric and come down by 1.5 inches. This is going to serve as the allowance for our drawstring casing. And then I'll extend the line this way. So this line is going to serve as the shoulder line. The next thing we want to do is to mark out the neckline. So from the close angle of my fabric, I'm going to come in by 3 inches, which is the width of my neckline. And the depth of my back neckline is 1 inch, while the depth of the front neckline is 2.5. I'll go ahead to connect the points together this way. After that, I'll come over to this open part of my fabric, of my fold, and come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope, and then connect it all the way to meet the neck line. So for the armhole opening, my armhole measurements divided by 2 is 8 inches. I'll add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance to make 10 inches. I'm going to come down from the shoulder slope by 10 inches, and then I'll further extend the line into the fabric to create the bust line. So since this is a free bubu, I'm going to mark the biggest circumference of my body divided by 4, which is my hip measurement. Divided by 4 is 11 inches, and then I'll add 3 extra inches to it and just mark it out there. After that, I'll place my tape rule on the shoulder line and mark the full length of my dress. You can decide to work with whatever length you want. For mine, I want it to be 37 inches, but I have about 39 inches here because of the folding allowance. So I'll connect this line now all the way down to the full length of my dress. And then I'll make a slight curve towards this area. So like I said earlier, I'll be attaching fabric to get my desired sleeve length. Before we cut it out, I'm going to replace the 1.5 inches allowance from my shoulder slope this way and just go ahead to connect it. So while cutting, we're going to start with the back neckline first. Cut out the back neckline and then cut out the sides. So right now I'll open up the sleeve area and then I'll separate the back panel from the front panel. After separating, I'll go ahead to cut out the neckline of the front panel. And the front neckline is also going to have a slit in front so that I can pass through the neck very well. So I'll come down by 5 inches. You can do 4 inches or you can do 6 inches if you want to, depending on the size of the person. And then go ahead to open it up. So after opening up, this is what it looks like. And this is what the back neckline also looks like. So right now, I'll go ahead to cut out the fabric I'll be using to extend my sleeve. I'll be doing that off camera. Just go ahead to measure the width of your sleeve and then cut out fabric and extend to your desired length. So when I'm done with that, I will show you guys. So guys, after extending the sleeve, this is what it looks like. It's not that obvious, but if you have enough fabric, you don't need to do this. So what I'm going to do next is to cut out facing for my front neckline. So I'll fold it into two this way, and then I'll get another piece of fabric and fold it into two, and then I'll place my neckline on it this way and go ahead to trace it out. Make that same opening and then cut it out this way. So after cutting out, this is what we have. So I'm going to use this now to turn over the front neckline. So at this point, I didn't think I'll be adding a collar to the neckline of my dress, so I'll go ahead to place it on it this way and then proceed to stitch it all the way around the neckline. So if you're adding collar, you don't need to stitch the neckline area, you just need to stitch that V area of the facing. I hope you guys understand. But if you don't want to add collar, go ahead to turn it over completely. So when I'm done with that, I'll show you guys. So after stitching the facing to the neckline, I'll go ahead to just notch it this way. So remember that if you are going to add collar to the neckline, you don't need to turn over the neckline of this front. You just turn over that V area alone. But if you're not adding collar, you go ahead to do it this way. So I'll go ahead to bring out all the pointed edges, and this is what it looks like. So go ahead now to iron it out so that it lays down flat, and then use your hemming gum to also seal it on the wrong side. Use your hemming gum to seal it on the wrong side. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I ironed out, this is what we have. So the next thing we want to do is to finish up the sleeve area. I'm going to fold it in twice and stitch it down, and I'll repeat the same process on the other side and also on the back panel. So go ahead to finish the edges of your sleeve. So after doing all of that, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I finished up the sleeve, this is what it looks like. Next thing we want to do is to join the front and the back panels on the shoulder area. So I'm going to place them right sides facing each other this way. So if you're not adding collar at this point, you should have finished up the neckline of the back as well. So I'll take the front facing and turn it over to the back this way, and then go ahead to stitch it using the 1.5 inches allowance. Stitch it all the way down, and then I will do the same thing for the other side. I'll turn over the front facing. So I've not used my hemming gum to seal it down yet. I'm going to do that later, and then close up the shoulder using 1.5 inches. After doing that, this is what it looks like. This is what we have. So the next thing to do is to open up this shoulder joining and iron it out so that it lays down flat. We're going to be using this allowance to create our drawstring casing. So from the sleeve opening, I'm going to come up by 10 inches and just mark it out there. So that is where my casing is going to stop, and then I'll go ahead to fold in the edge of the allowance this way and stitch it all the way up to that 10 inches mark. I'll stitch it all the way up. I'll repeat the same process on this side, fold it and stitch it down. And on the other sleeve as well, I'll iron it out and fold in up to 10 inches. I'll mark the 10 inches point and then fold it in and stitch all the way down. So after stitching down, this is what we have. This is the drawstring casing. So I've also gone ahead to create the strings that will be passing into the casing, and this is what we have. You can decide to use any length you want. So I'll use my pin to just pass it in this way up to that 10 inches mark. So when I get there, I'm just going to remove the pin. I'll pull it up this way and then remove the pin. So you're going to be stitching down the string at that 10 inches point. So I'll pass in the other one. So when it gets to that point, I will just pull it out and remove the pin. So I'll take it to my sewing machine now and stitch the strings down to the fabric so that it stays very firm. You can stitch it twice. So I'm going to repeat the same process on the other sleeve. I'll pass in my strings and show you guys. So after passing the strings into the casing, this is what we have. So you can decide to ruch it up this way or just leave it like this. So the next one we want to work on is the pocket. So I have the fabric cut out already. So the length of my pocket is 12 inches while the width is 9 inches. So note that I'm still going to take in half an inch all the way around it. So I have the same thing here. So right now I'll take it to my sewing machine and fold in towards the wrong side this way. I'll fold it in and stitch it all the way around it. I'll repeat the same process on the other one and show you guys. So after stitching, this is what we have. So the next thing I want to do is to attach the organza to the edge of the pocket. So you're going to measure what you have on the three sides of the pocket. So whatever you got, multiply by 2 to get the length of your organza. And the wideness of my fold is 4 inches. So I'm going to turn it over now to the wrong side and then place the open part of the fold this way. I'll fold in the edge first and then start to join it to my pocket fabric this way. So while I'm joining, I'll be forming pleats. So while joining the organza to the Ankara fabric, just keep forming pleats like this. You can as well pin it down first before you stitch. So pleat it all the way around the pocket. So you're not going to pleat at the upper part of your pocket. That is going to be the pocket opening. So pleat on all three sides this way. So when I'm done, I'll repeat it on the other one and show you guys. So after pleating, this is what we have. You should have something that looks like this, and this is the wrong side. So the next thing to do is to attach this pocket to the fabric. So I'm going to first of all trace the center point of my dress this way, and then I'll place my pocket 1 inch away from that center point. So you're placing the pocket at the beginning of the other print, or you can just come down by 18 inches from the shoulder. So I'll make sure I have 1 inch apart from the center and then go ahead to pin my pocket to the front panel alone. So pin your pocket to the front panel alone this way, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine now and then I'll stitch all around it on the Ankara fabric. Stitch on the Ankara fabric all around and leave the upper part opened. I'll repeat it on this other pocket as well and then show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. So after stitching down, this is what we have. This is what we have. Next thing I'm going to do is to close up the sides of my dress. So I'll flip it this way, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and go ahead to close it up all the way down on both sides. I'll also finish the base and show you guys. So for the collar, I'll go ahead to measure what I have all around the neckline. So remember that you can decide to make yours without a collar. You just use your facing to turn the neckline. So what I have on my neckline is 19 inches all around. So I'm going to get this fabric and fold it into 4 this way. So after folding into 4, I'll come over to the apex of the fold and come down by that 19 inches divided by 4. So I got 4.75, but because of the stitching allowance, I'm marking 5 inches all the way around it. And then the height of my collar is 1.5 inches because of the seam allowance as well. I'll mark the 1.5 inches all around and then go ahead to cut it out. So by cutting out your collar this way, it's going to help it relax very well on the neckline. So open up the fold this way and then cut the edges like this. So you have 2 pieces of it. So you can decide to iron your hair stay to this fabric so that it gives it a bit of weight, and then place them right sides facing each other. Go ahead to close up the upper part using half of an inch and also close up the sides using half of an inch. So you can also confirm what you have on this lower part. It should be the neckline measurement you measured earlier plus about 1 inch extra. So I'll take in half an inch on both sides, so I'll be left with 19 inches and then turn it over. So after turning over, this is what it looks like. So I'll fold it into 2 to get the midpoint and just notch it. Notch it on the opened part, and then I'll get the neckline of my dress as well and notch it at the center back. I'll notch the center back this way. So I'm going to take the notched part of my collar and place it on the neckline, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and then go ahead to pin it down. So this is the reason why I said you don't have to use your facing to turn the front neckline over, because you're still going to attach collar. So I'll go ahead now to pin the collar on the neckline this way. So if you got the measurement right, your collar is going to fit perfectly into the neckline. So the collar's length has to be 19 inches, just like I measured on the neckline. So if yours is 20 inches, your collar has to be 20 inches in length. I hope you guys understand. So after pinning, I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch the collar down to the neckline all the way around it. So when you're done stitching, your collar is going to appear like this. You can see how beautiful it looks already. So I'll iron it out. I'll also use my hemming gum to seal the facing on the wrong side and show you guys. So after ironing, this is what we have. You can see how neat and how beautiful this looks already. All you just need to do is weave the inner seam so that it appears very neat on the wrong side. So this is what we have. I also finished up the base and I ironed it out. So guys, this is where we end this video for today. I hope you found it useful and I hope you learned something new. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.